Imagine this. Your faith could save lives, or end yours. What would you do? In the quiet town of Haarlem, Netherlands, one family faced that very question. Their answer would change history and perhaps inspire us all. This is the story of Corrie Ten Boom, a Dutch watchmaker whose life took an extraordinary turn during World War II. Alongside her father Casper and sister Betsy, Corrie lived a simple life, repairing clocks. But when the Nazis invaded their country, their faith called them to a dangerous mission. In 1940, the Netherlands fell under Nazi occupation. Jews were hunted, families torn apart, and the Holocaust began its merciless spread. The Ten Booms, devout Christians, couldn't stand by. They chose to act, knowing it could cost them everything. This is a tale of courage, sacrifice, and the astonishing power of forgiveness. Welcome to the hiding place that healed a broken faith. As the persecution of Jews intensified, Casper Ten Boom posed a question to his daughters. If we are to love our neighbors, how can we ignore their suffering? Corrie and Betsy agreed. They decided to turn their home into a sanctuary. Behind Corrie's bedroom wall, they constructed a tiny hiding place, just 2 feet wide. It became a lifeline for Jews and resistance fighters fleeing the Nazis. Working with the Dutch underground, the Ten Booms smuggled people in under the cover of night. We knew the risks, but how could we turn away those in need? Our faith compelled us to act. Every knock on the door was a gamble. The family drilled escape plans, practiced silence, and lived with the constant hum of danger. Once, a Nazi patrol searched the house while 6 people hid in the secret room, undetected by inches. But their courage couldn't shield them forever. In 1944, betrayal struck. What would happen to the family and those they protected? Their faith was about to face its greatest test. On February 28, 1944, the Gestapo raided the Ten Boom home. A Dutch informant had sold them out. Corrie, Betsy, and Casper were arrested, along with dozens of others. The 6 people in the hiding place remained safe, but the family's fate was sealed. Casper, elderly and frail, died in prison 10 days later. Corrie and Betsy were sent to Ravensbrück, a notorious women's concentration camp in Germany. Ravensbrück was a nightmare. Starvation gnawed at their bodies, lice infested their beds, and cruelty ruled the guards' hands. Yet, Betsy saw glimmers of hope where others saw only despair. The fleas were a plague, but they kept the guards away, giving Corrie and Betsy space to share smuggled Bible passages with their fellow prisoners. In that pit of suffering, faith became their rebellion. But the camp took its toll. Betsy grew weaker each day. On December 16, 1944, as Corrie held her hand, Betsy spoke her final words. "There is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still." Betsy died, leaving Corrie alone in the darkness. How could she carry on? Have you ever faced a moment where hope seemed lost? What kept you going? 1 week later, a miracle unfolded. On December 28, 1944, Corrie was released due to a clerical error, just days before all women her age were sent to the gas chambers. She returned to a shattered Netherlands, grappling with loss and the echoes of Ravensbrück. But Corrie didn't retreat. She began traveling the world, sharing her story of survival and God's sustaining love. Then, in 1947, came a moment that would define her legacy. While speaking at a church, a familiar figure stepped forward, a former Ravensbrück guard. He didn't recognize her, but she knew him instantly. He extended his hand, asking for forgiveness. Corrie's mind flooded with memories. Betsy's death, the beatings, the hunger. Anger surged, but then, a quiet voice within urged her, "Forgive as you have been forgiven." In that handshake, Corrie felt a rush of grace. She forgave him, not because it was easy, but because it was healing. She later wrote, "Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door of resentment." Until her death in 1983, Corrie shared this message worldwide, proving that even the deepest wounds can mend through faith and love. Corrie Ten Boom's story isn't just about surviving a war, it's about the triumph of hope over despair, love over hate. Her life challenges us to ask, what would we do in her shoes? How can we find strength in our own struggles? So, what about you? Have you ever had to forgive the unforgivable? Or found hope in a hopeless place? Let's talk about it. Share your thoughts in the comments. And if Corrie's story inspires you, dive deeper into her book, The Hiding Place. As Corrie once said, There is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still. Thanks for joining me on this journey.